53. Fashion disaster. As it turned out, Wardrobe had an entire floor of Il-Miglior's tower dedicated to her. Ryan and the panda waited inside an elevator, as it slowly climbed towards their destination. The duo could see the sun illuminate New Rome through a glass window, Ryan glancing at Rust Town while his sidekick sang a Spider-Man cartoon tune to himself. It was May 10th, and Psyshock would soon attack the orphanage. Ryan's cell phone buzzed to the tune of "I Got You, Babe," drawing him out of his reverie. "Quick save deliveries, yes," he said while answering the unknown caller. "We will deliver your mail, no matter how many corpses it takes." "There is a logic in this world," Fortuna's furious voice said on the other end of the line. "Everything that can go well for me in this universe, does." "You violated the natural order." "Wait, how did you get this number?" Ryan asked, curious but not surprised. "I typed it at random." God damn it, her ability was overpowered. She could probably stumble onto the Dynamis conspiracy by sheer luck if she wanted to. "Nobody talks to me like that, quick save. I have men throwing themselves at my feet, millionaires, celebrities." Ryan hung up on her. "Who was it, Sifu?" his panda disciple asked him. "A loony fan," the courier replied dismissively, even as Lucky Girl kept trying to call him. "Oh, I had one of those too. She tried to kidnap the panda because she loved his smooth fur. The panda had to run." "Couldn't you know," Ryan looked into his eyes. "Eat her?" I can only eat bamboo in panda form, Sifu. Meat makes me want to vomit." The Danish warlord Nidhogg had drunk a green elixir and became a kilometers-long, near-invulnerable serpent. While Timmy drank the same kind of potion, only to become that. There was no fairness in this world. "Sifu, why are you looking at me like that?" the panda asked, a little anxious. Ryan sighed and put a hand on the poor animal's shoulder. "I will always support you, young disciple. No matter what." Ryan thought the panda might start crying. "Thank you, Sifu." The elevator finally reached Wardrobe's floor and the duo stepped inside. After the ascent, Ryan had expected something luxurious, but nothing like this. The rugs in the welcoming hall had probably cost a fortune, all the chairs were made of refined leather, and the walls had been covered with artistic designs like an art gallery. Fashion and girly mags were piled up on fancy wooden tables. "Come in," Wardrobe called them from another room. The new hero team followed her voice and passed in front of shooting studios, including darkrooms, props, and various photography equipment. Eventually, they made their way to a lobby whose walls were covered with thousands of model pictures and cloth designs. Wardrobe was facing a tough customer around a table, a paper sheet and pencil in hand. "No," Felix the Atom Cat said, sinking in his chair in front of the hero fashion designer. "I'm not wearing a cat latex suit." "Felix, don't be a child," Wardrobe protested, "it would be form-fitting, and won't restrict your movements in a fight." The young hero crossed his arms and pouted. "My outfit is good enough." "What? How can you say something that stupid?" "You take that back. Personally, I suggest a Valentino suit with a cat-themed tie, but I think the outfit is already taken," Ryan mused out loud, waving a hand at the heroes. "Hi, I'm Quick Save, and this is my trusty panda sidekick." "Oh, hello, I'm Atom Cat," Felix replied, a bit gruffer than usual. Ryan had missed him. "Hi, I'm Wardrobe. But you can call me Yukiko, or Yuki for short." She was Japanese, huh? Ryan would have said Korean. She smiled brightly at the two, making her unbearably adorable. "Nice to meet you. Please have a seat." "She's so cute," the panda muttered under his breath, before trying to sound dignified. "The panda greets you too." You're the new guys, right? Felix asked as they joined the fashion debate. Shouldn't you be at the newbie seminar or something? Shouldn't you, kitten? Ryan asked back. Don't tell me, he sighed. I'm supposed to waste time watching corporate videos instead of actually doing hero work. We are doing hero work right now, Wardrobe said, looking at the Augusti rebel's white gymnast clothes. Wearing this is a crime against humanity, Felix. Follow QuickSave's example. Look at that perfect color nuance and this fancy noir trench coat. His costume stands for something greater than him. Thank you, Ryan said. I am so glad to finally meet someone civilized in this savage wilderness. Adam Cat wasn't convinced though. I will take practical over fancy any day. That's what she said, Ryan replied, Wardrobe chuckling while Adam Cat rolled his eyes. Anyway, I am told you will be my goddess as far as fashion goes, but I'm not yet ready to believe in you. Don't worry about that, quick save, I got your costume covered, she said while drawing on a blank paper sheet with her pencil. I thought about a Valentino-style suit with artificial fibers, but the more I thought of it, the more I realized I should use a better material. One that fits you. Cashmere? Ryan asked, hopeful. Cashmere, my thought exactly, Wardrobe said with a nod, revealing herself as an island of sanity in a world gone mad. Dark purple, with a fancy black turtleneck underneath. And a bowler hat. Oh, no, the courier suddenly hit the brakes, before she went too far. That's too extreme and violent. I thought the same, but I found a solution. She raised the sheet before the group, Ryan, the panda, and even Adam Cat observing her sketch. Instead of a corporate tie, we're going to add a wool scarf, Wardrobe pointed her pencil at the neck. Light violet, almost pinkish, with tiny clock symbols everywhere. The costume, it was wonderful. The perfect blend of modern fashion and Victorian-style dandiness. A pinkish bright scarf instead of a tie? That was a stroke of genius. Why didn't Ryan ever think of that? It's wonderful, the courier whispered as if facing a divine revelation. I know. The scarf will restrain the bowler hat's energy, symbolizing the conflict between your violent spirit and society's rules. Can you truly live up to your duty to the law, or will you stay true to your wild, single-minded pursuit of justice? That's your message. That's your conflict. Wardrobe pointed at the drawing. That's your costume. How about my bipolarity? Ryan asked, now giddy. What do you do about my bipolarity? We paint your metal mask silver and black, light and darkness coexisting without ever mixing. I have been converted. Yours is the one true faith. Oh God, there's two of them now, Felix complained. We're doomed. What about me? The panda asked, hopeful. Can you make a costume worthy of the panda's pure awesomeness? Yes, I can. Wardrobe replied with enthusiasm. I thought about leaving you shirtless, with 2 bullet bandoliers around the chest. Bullet bandoliers? Timmy's face deflated. But I don't know how to shoot. It's not about whether you can use it or not, Ryan enlightened him. It's about looking cool. Exactly. Wardrobe agreed while writing down a new sketch. So I say, 2 bandoliers around your chest, a green beret, black shorts that will adjust to your transformation, and maybe a pair of sunglasses. You're no longer just a panda. You're Rambo Panda, the last of your kind, fighting an eternal war for the future. She showed them the sketch, and even Ryan had to admit, it looked like one manly Chinese bear. When he glanced at Wardrobe and remembered how Mortimer had dared kill this gift to mankind from the heavens, the courier couldn't help but feel sorrow. You are a national treasure that must be protected, Ryan told Wardrobe. And you will be. I swear you will be. Oh, Thanks, she said with a bright smile. It's okay, I get that all of the time. I will finally impress the girls in this. The panda looked at the costume, utterly mesmerized. What about the car? Can we get a panda mobile? The kids' marketing department is already on the case, Wardrobe promised, grinning at the two. So, you're okay with the costumes? Of course you are. Once you validate them, I can make the designs a reality within the hour. Yes, yes, yes. Ryan said enthusiastically. And afterward we go patrol in Rust Town. Patrol? The panda and Adam Cat asked at once. Well yes, we have to test these costumes in the field, Ryan argued. It's like baptizing a ship, except you use the blood of your enemies instead of alcohol. You want to do what exactly? Adam Cat asked, a little skeptical. Go to Rust Town and pick a fight with the Metagang? Yes. But Sifu, what about the seminar? The panda asked, worried. He must have thought not attending would hurt his chances at becoming an IN-LAWANDINTHECABIN member. We haven't finished training. You fail to see the truth, arrogant young disciple. Ryan told his sidekick. One must confront evil, instead of waiting for it to come to you. To think for yourself is the real training. Yes, Sifu. I understand, Sifu. The panda put his hand on his chest. The panda shall support you, as you supported him. That's the spirit. Ryan patted the green genome on the back, before glancing at a confused Felix. Do you want to come too? I don't have cat litter in the car though. Me? Felix the cat asked, a bit unsure. You, Adam Cat, for your own good, Ryan pleaded, rising from his chair and putting his hands on the boy's shoulders. There is a moment in the life of a man, where he must take charge of his own future. Where he must break the chains of corporate hierarchy and stand for what's right. Can you stop invading my personal space, please? Felix asked, leaning back in his chair. They'll milk you, Felix. Ryan continued, completely ignoring the hero's resistance. They'll milk you like a cow. They'll harvest your happiness and turn it into cash, until you stand for nothing but a brand. They will destroy you with 1.5-hour long corporate videos, addict you to coffee and catering, and brainwash you with accounting buzz. You had me at the video part, Felix interrupted Ryan and pushed him back. You know what, even if you're clearly off your meds, you've got a point. About time someone confronted this city's psycho-cancer. Stand for what's right. You're talking my language. Oh, can I join too? Wardrobe asked with her usual enthusiasm. Team trips are so fun. You're sure you can leave your atelier without authorization? Adam Cat asked. I will officially join the Pro League next week, after we finish filming the new Wyvern movie, Wardrobe said happily. I already have a field license. It will be my last Junior League adventure. Well then, Ryan raised a finger at the ceiling, to the quick save mobile. A few hours later, Ryan drove through the streets of Rust Town in a brand new costume. Wardrobe sat at his side, while Adam Cat, that fashion disaster, had taken over the back seat with the new and improved panda. What a dump, Adam Cat said, looking through the window. No matter the loop, nobody ever got used to Rust Town. Even the panda, seemed intimidated by the overwhelming atmosphere of ruin and decay. It's even worse than I thought.
Yeah.
It's a bad place, Wardrobe admitted, her fingers twitching. I see why they don't let juniors patrol here. Wardrobe, Ryan said, a light-hearted idea crossing his mind. Yes, quick save, she said, moving closer to his seat. You can change into any persona that isn't copyrighted, right? Fictional or not. Does that mean you can change into? He whispered the terrible name into her ear. Yes, I can, it's my apocalypse suit, Wardrobe nodded. But it's too dangerous to use unless all is lost. I think I could destroy the world if I wear it for too long. Ryan needed to see her in that costume. That would be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Can you dress like God? Felix asked at the back. That would be pretty overpowered. Somewhat. Wardrobe admitted, a little embarrassed. But I can't do much in most gods' costumes actually. The more defined a persona, the better I master it. Nobody agrees about what God can or can't do, or what he even looks like, so the persona isn't all that stable. I have an easier time cosplaying as Jesus or Moses. I can't wear a persona too long though, or else I start to become it. So if you dress like Augustus, you start to think like him? Ryan asked.
Yeah.
Don't, you'll probably become a colossal asshole, Felix said with hateful venom. It's strange to be Augustus? Wardrobe admitted. I'm not sure if it's his power or just the idea people have of him, but I become so cold that I don't feel anything. I become more like a statue than a living being. I can't relate to other humans anymore. I figured as much. Felix shrugged. Any idea how his invulnerability works? I thought Dynamis would test out its limits. Well, I don't actually copy people or their powers, Wardrobe explained. I copy the idea that people have of them. I mean, Dracula could walk under the sun in the original novel just fine, but I can't stand daylight because everyone thinks vampires are weak to it. So Dynamis isn't sure if my insight is very reliable. Ryan wasn't so sure. Both the original Augustus and his cosplayer had been able to move in the stop time. Come to think of it, this run might be a rare opportunity to figure out the limits of Lightning Dad's power. Could you cosplay as me? The panda asked with enthusiasm. He's the last panda on Earth, Yukiko, Ryan told the fashion goddess, who had earned that nickname with flying colors. You could save the whole species. I don't think I can, Wardrobe admitted sheepishly. You aren't famous enough. What about me? Ryan asked, his heart filled with hope, while the panda deflated. Or cancel. Can you copy cancel? Adam Cat looked at the courier strangely when he mentioned the power canceller, but Wardrobe had clearly no idea who she was. Who? No, I can only copy personas ingrained in mankind's collective consciousness. I'm sorry. Well, that sent Ryan's plan to deal with Psyshock down the drain, and Wardrobe wouldn't be able to mimic his power if nobody knew its true nature. A shame. Adam Cat grabbed his cell phone, read the screen, and then put it back in his pocket. His mood clearly worsened afterward. What is it, Felix? Wardrobe asked, clearly worried for his well-being. My sister, and my ex, Felix replied. Oh, Livia? Ryan asked out loud. How do you know that? Did Blackthorn tell you? Felix crossed his arms.
Yeah.
It's Livia. Oh, you had a girlfriend? The panda asked, immediately interested. Do you still love her? No, we're over, Felix replied bluntly, looking sorrowfully through the windows. At the end of the day, it's family over what's right, or even what's good for her. I can't compromise anymore. Not after what I've seen.
Yeah.
I see exactly what you mean, Ryan said with a sigh, remembering the old bad days with Bloodstream. He heard his phone buzzing, checking it with one hand and keeping another on the driving wheel. It wasn't responsible, but he had mastered the art of text driving early in his loops. You have 41 messages from Lucky Girl. You have one message from Unknown. Fortuna was quite persistent. Wait. She was all over Matty Boy because he didn't give in to her attention. Just like Ryan himself this run. He had a bad feeling about this. Anyway, he didn't check these messages, and instead read the text from his unknown caller. The message consisted of a single sentence. Unknown, the orange is in the hen house. Ryan hit the brakes so fast it startled everyone. Sifu, you shouldn't text while driving. The panda complained from the back. Sorry, Ryan replied, frantically typing the answer before driving back towards the orphanage, his mind bustling with questions. Though he only sent one to the unknown caller. Plushie tamer, where and when? 54, a gambling man. And right in front of us, you can see Rust Town's famous orphanage, where the most dangerous creatures in the world are raised in the wild, Ryan said as he finished giving his team a tour of the area, parking the Plymouth near the entrance. Human children. You exaggerate, Wardrobe chuckled, looking through the window. Len was waiting with Sarah and another boy near the orphanage's entrance, the kids playing with a Labrador. Unlike the previous loop, the genius hadn't put on her diving armor yet, sticking to her brown suit and water rifle. I think you underestimate these creatures, Ryan argued. They eat baby candies, and they listen to loud music at night. Why are we here exactly? Adam Cat asked from the back. Well, according to my intel, the Metagang intends to target the place today, Ryan said, though he didn't mention which source. His words caused everyone to look at him in alarm. They will abduct the residents unless we drive them off. They intend to attack children? Wardrobe's adorable face had turned white from the horror. I would like to say I'm surprised, but I'm not, Felix grumbled. Don't worry, Sifu, we will save them. The panda said with enthusiasm, a hand on his chest. We will break these villains like bamboo. We will need to work on your puns, arrogant young disciple, Ryan said as the group stepped out of the car, instantly catching the children's attention. Oh, it's Wardrobe. Little Sarah's eyes widened upon recognizing the heroine. It seemed that while she wasn't as well known as Wyvern, the fashion designer had her fans. Where, another child asked, rushing out of the orphanage alongside half a dozen of the tiny devils. Riri, Len whispered softly, while the children swarmed the heroes, most asking for Wardrobe's autograph. The panda looked really jealous of her fame, which he coveted for himself. Guys, this is Len, alias Underdiver, Ryan introduced them. She's a friend. Shorty, this is Adam Kitty, my new BFF Wardrobe, and Super Panda. He can fly and shoot lasers from his eyes. Adam Kitty, huh? Never heard that one before, Quickie. Adam Cat crossed his arms while he observed Len. Isn't she a criminal though? I heard Vulcan paid the private security to have her released. Len immediately tensed up, looking at Adam Cat suspiciously. Your corporate overlords are the real criminals, she replied harshly, waving a hand at Rust Town. This is their work. Can't argue with that, Felix admitted with sheepish embarrassment. You're taking care of the place? Someone has to. Quick save, you monster. Wardrobe glared at him, having finished writing autographs for the kids. I'm so disappointed in you. About what? Ryan asked with a frown. You can't let your friend dress like this. Wardrobe ranted, as she approached a very surprised Len and touched every part of her outfit with her soft fingers. Her costume is hideous. Clearly, Len didn't know how to react to this. What? The colors are all wrong, it stands for nothing, and it's not even form-fitting. Wardrobe started touching Len's breasts, much to her dismay. Look at her beautiful figure. All that potential, wasted. Stop please, Len pleaded, as if attacked by an over-affectionate puppy. I'm sorry, darling, I can't look the other way. Wardrobe removed her hands from the genius and adopted a pose reminding Ryan of the Rodin's thinker statue. She devoured Len with her eyes, the poor genius now as red as a tomato. We need silver and blue, with scales. What's your power? Little Sarah asked the panda. Oh, I can become the best creature in the world. The green genome immediately transformed into his animal shape, much to the kids' delight. Over Panda Overdrive. It's a bear, a little girl squealed, as the panda lifted her on his shoulders. It's a bear. So soft and warm, another boy said, as he touched the beast's fur. Oh. Little Sarah looked up at Felix. Can you transform into a cat too? No, Felix replied with a gruff tone. But your name? I like cats, that is all. You are a huge disappointment, little Sarah snarked back at him, before giving in to the panda's cuteness. The animal eventually laid on his back, letting the children use his belly as a trampoline. The panda had found his power's true purpose. Entertaining children. Ryan would have found the scene quite funny, had his mind not been distracted by something else. The orange is in the henhouse. It was a joke phrase that Ryan told people when they asked details about his power. But he hadn't used it once in this entire loop. The fact someone sent it to him could only mean one thing. Somewhere, somebody remembered. No, he shouldn't keep his hopes up, in case they ended up dashed. For all he knew, the chronoradio could have broadcast that message. But in case someone did remember, who could it be? Ryan remembered using that sentence 3 times. Once in the Bakudo during an early loop, once to Shroud when he asked his power, and once with Livia. It could have also been Jasmine, but why would she fake amnesia? Livia, though, had seemed to recognize Ryan's name. He was also pretty sure she had a second power like her father, when he didn't fully understand yet. For all the courier knew, it could allow her to keep her memories from one loop to another. His thoughts raised more questions than answers. Ryan could ask the poor kitten for confirmation, but he had the feeling it would backfire. If it was Livia, Felix would ask why the courier received messages from Augustus' daughter. He might mistake the time traveler for a mafia mole, and ruin everything. Children eager for an autograph managed to distract Wardrobe long enough for Len to escape her clutches. Riri, the genius, whispered to the courier. Do you have a plan? My idea to deal with Psyshock was a flop, Ryan admitted. He thought Wardrobe could cosplay as Cancel and finish off the bodyjacker, but clearly, it wouldn't happen. We'll have to go with yours. I hope it will work, she said, raising her water gun. I never tried it before. Her bubble prison worked fine against reload in the previous loop, so Ryan didn't doubt its effectiveness. Unless of course, Psyshock had an automatic suicide button to avoid capture. The psycho didn't use any against Cancel, but she was nullifying his body transfer back then. Automatic triggers were nasty things. The courier developed one in his early loops, but he never found the right balance. One of his devices, meant to protect him against mind readers, ended up mistaking his saves as memory manipulation attempts. In another case, a chest bomb kept detonating at inopportune times. Eventually, Ryan gave up on the idea altogether, finding it more trouble than it was theoretically worth. Had PSY reached the same conclusion? He couldn't tell until they crossed that bridge. Which, unfortunately, wouldn't take that long. Ryan noticed Psyshock's black, rusted minibus drive towards the orphanage, quickly followed by a second one. The metagang had brought reinforcements. He should have expected it. Without Ghoul to serve as a smokescreen, the land probably noticed a large group of genomes around the orphanage. Hopefully, Adam would keep his heavy hitters in reserve to protect the junkyard, rather than send them all to the orphanage. Ryan could do without another fight with acid rain. especially since she murdered Felix the cat the first time they met. It's them, Felix guessed, tensing up. The meta. Go inside, right now, Len told the children. Hide in the basement, and don't come out until I say so. But Ma, little Sarah protested. Do as I say, the genius asked more firmly, raising her water gun. Don't worry, sweetie, Wardrobe said with a reassuring wink. Heroes always win. Unless they took a bullet to the head, but Ryan hoped it wouldn't come to that. The children fled into the orphanage, the other genomes preparing themselves up for a fight. All right, guys, let me do the talking until bullets start flying, Ryan said, stealthily grabbing a device from the back of his Plymouth Fury and hiding it inside his suit. He also put on the Fisty brothers, determined to personally introduce them to Psyshock's jaw. No matter what you hear, try to keep calm. Why yes, Sifu, the panda said, fidgeting in place. Though he tried to put on a brave front, Ryan could tell the hero wannabe didn't have any experience whatsoever. What's this? Adam Cat asked, eyeing Ryan's suit. Some ultimate weapon? You can say that, Ryan replied, preparing himself for his performance as the meta-gang parked in front of the orphanage. It's a wiretap. Psyshock stepped out of his car first, followed by Mongrel and Mosquito. The other minibus stopped nearby, 2 more psychos emerging from it. A reptilian humanoid, and a bipedal jaguar. Ryan remembered them both from his suicide run. He had run the lizard over on his way to the bunker, while the jaguar man, Rakshasa, could summon gremlins. The 2 groups were evenly matched, or so it seemed. Little Cesare. No matter the number of loops, the possessive way Psyshock said it always sent a shiver down Ryan's spine. And a delightful Len. It's quite the reunion. I told you, I smelled a pack of genomes, Mosquito said, cracking his knuckles. The other meta seemed to barely restrain themselves. Mongrel showed his teeth, the lizard guy's tail whipped the ground, and Rakshasa prepared to summon gremlins for support. Guess it's blood harvest time. Yes, though we only came for the children in that shelter, this is a good day indeed, Psyshock said. Then you will have to explain that to Don Hector, Ryan lied, channeling Blackthorn's corporate arrogance. He's not happy with you already, so I wouldn't recommend it. The sentence made Psyshock flinch. It was an epic poker bluff, but Ryan knew he could still win with a weak hand. They didn't call his style loose-aggressive for nothing. The meta glanced at their leader, who carefully examined Ryan. He sensed something was wrong, but the fact he didn't immediately call out the courier's bluff meant he had hit the mark. I did not have the pleasure of meeting with any Hector, Psyshock said, suspicious. Oh well, in that case, we'll cut off the juice, Ryan lied as easily as he breathed. If you don't deliver results soon, you can say
Goodbye
to your knockoff supply. These crates and the drones were a big investment on the big man's part, and he doesn't do charity. Now, that took Psyshock aback, because Ryan should have no way to know this information. He could have spied on them, but the knockoffs and drones were safely hidden inside the bunker. Most probably, the supplier himself had provided the information to Ryan, or he could time travel. Guess which PSY found more likely? Why are they here? Psyshock glanced at Ryan's team. All of them had tensed up, while Adam Cat seemed to brim with cold rage. The boss was worried you would go off the leash, and we would have to teach you a lesson. Ryan's fingers twitched dangerously. Will we have to, PSY? The key to a good bluff was confidence. You had to seem so arrogantly sure of yourself that your opponent doubted his own judgment. Steve Jobs called it a reality distortion field, and it wasn't that far from the truth. The metagang's second-in-command looked at Ryan dead in the eyes, the tension palpable. Their respective groups prepared themselves for a fight, for now was the moment of truth. The courier stood firm, with the arrogance of someone convinced he would always get his way. And thankfully, Psyshock caved in. "No," he said, before pointing at a spot far from the two groups. "Here, let us discuss things far from unwelcome ears." Ryan glanced at his team and nodded at them. Hopefully, they could keep quiet until things inevitably escalated. The two nemesis walked away from their respective groups, at the edge of the orphanage's courtyard. "Explain yourself," Psyshock cut straight to business. Mr. Manada specifically asked Adam and I not to reveal his involvement, even to our own men. "What changed? Why did he send you rather than go through the usual channels?" "Somebody talked," Ryan replied, faking annoyance with the psycho. "The old channels are no longer secure." "It wasn't us," Psyshock declared. "As we told your employer when we approached him, we are very careful about security. If there is a leak, it comes from your side."
Yeah.
"Sure," Ryan said while faking heavy skepticism. He noted that the meta had approached Dynamis first, rather than the other way around. "I personally altered the memories of anyone involved in our operations, to minimize risks," Psyshock insisted, forced on the defensive. "The leak does not come from us." "Is that why you brought these people? So I can check their memories?" "No, they don't like it, but they will keep their mouth shut," Ryan lied. "Why is the big boss paying you off generously to visit orphanages? Don't tell me the fat ass wants some chicken nuggets for dinner?" Hannafat Lecter had been cunning enough to keep his mouth shut in the previous loops, at least until he had blown up the city. The courier had the feeling Psyshock wouldn't share his boss' self-control. He was too arrogant and confident in his immortality. "We intend to use these goblins as soldiers against the Augusti," Psyshock lied as he breathed. "I assure you, we are making progress. We pushed them out of this district and started hitting their suppliers." "Barman and normies," Ryan replied disdainfully. "Where is the A material? The Killer 7? Pluto, Neptune? Looks like you're underperforming, and company divisions who don't bring results get downsized." Okay, maybe he was laying it a bit too thick with the corporate metaphors, but it seemed to work. Psyshock lying about Mekran's bunker also meant that Hector Manada probably didn't know about it. The more he listened, the more Ryan saw the bigger picture. Adam had learned of the bunker somehow, and came to Rust Town to unearth it. But since he needed time to do so quietly, the Meta's leader had approached Hector Manada to secure a knockoff elixir supply and pacify his crew of addicts. Adam promised to target the Augusti on Dynami's behalf, without ever intending to deliver. These psycho bastards had planned to overthrow their employers from the start. "As I told Mr. Manada, we lack the numbers to move carelessly," Psyshock argued, trying to save the knockoff connection. The Meta gang probably expected to take weeks to fully conquer the bunker, and they couldn't jeopardize their juice supply until then. "We need to gather more information before we can make a strategic move." Ryan raised 3 fingers. 3 days, he said. "You have 3 days to deliver results." 3 days? Surprise broke through Psyshock's emotionless tone. "That is way too short." "You have 3 days to deliver," Ryan repeated boldly, "or the deal is off." Now, he was mostly trolling Psyshock before the coup de grace, but he hoped to make him panic enough to blurt out one last juicy bit of info. And he had guessed right. "I have made considerable progress on the other project," Psyshock argued. "If Mr. Manada was willing to extend that period, I could show him." "The second project?" Now, Ryan couldn't be sure about it, but he could infer its nature from various elements compiled from the previous loops. "The brain scan," the courier asked, hoping he had guessed right. "Your technology, while primitive, is compatible with my power," Psyshock said, regaining his composure. "I can easily copy a mind from one brain to another, as long as they are closely related." As Ryan had thought. He had wondered why the Dynamis/Meta alliance quickly collapsed in the previous loop with Psyshock's death, but now it made sense. With the Meta's failures against the Augusti and the Brain Manipulator's demise, Hector Monada probably thought he should just scrap that alliance and cover his tracks. How closely? Clones would be the best, but we can work with close relatives. Siblings, children, Psyshock marked a short pause. Even genomes. Careful, there, Ryan said, though he would make sure Enrique would hear of this. What you imply could be taken the wrong way. I am simply saying that it is an option, if your employer is willing to entertain it. And like that, Psyshock had given the courier everything he needed. Ryan looked at the skies, hoping to see flying armor. Now was time for Vulcan to show up, and turn it into a ménage à trois. Any minute now. Any minute now. Damn, was it the higher number of genomes involved that made Jasmine change her mind? At least, Ryan was pretty sure he could rely on someone else. Was that enough for you, Mr. Windshield? Ryan said, glancing at an empty spot. Psyshock froze in confusion, until a voice answered out of nowhere, yes. Oh well, Ryan said, glancing back at Psyshock, who started to realize he had been tricked. PSY, you probably don't remember, but there's something I promised you last time we met. And quick save always delivers. Ryan punched Psyshock in the jaw by surprise, as all windows in the area exploded into glass shrapnel. 55, the future passed. And the whole thing started so well. Right after Ryan punched Psyshock's jaw out, Shroud revealed his presence and unleashed glass shards in all directions. The situation quickly devolved into a chaotic melee, while the pets in the animal shelter howled as one. Shorty immediately fired at Psyshock with her water rifle, the liquid forming a 3 meters wide bubble around the Meta. The malevolent telepath struggled inside, unable to escape the liquid prison. Meanwhile, Rakshasa had summoned a dozen gremlins. Atom Cat attempted to engage Mongrel in close combat only to be repelled by a blast of compressed air, and Wardrobe's costume transformed into a cosplay of Che Guevara. As for the panda, Mosquito instantly flew at him when the melee started, singling the bear out as easy prey whose blood he could drink. Except he forgot that Ryan's disciple was a 700 kilos juggernaut bigger than a polar bear, and who hit just as hard. So the panda caught Mosquito's sting mid-flight, pivoted on himself, and tossed the surprised Psycho against one of the black minibuses. The Bugman hit it with enough force to trigger the alarm, but the panda immediately closed the gap before he could recover. Bear smash! The panda roared while he lunged at the Meta, hitting him so hard he bent the minibus metal doors. He then started beating the tar out of Mosquito with his bestial strength. He was good. The panda was good. He was ridiculous, but he was good. Unfortunately, Ryan didn't have the time to observe the animal brawl. The lizard man among the Meta lunged at an empty spot and slammed something against the ground, the blown dust revealing the invisible Shroud's position. Ryan guessed the lizard man had managed to sense the glass genome through sound or scent. The carnival vigilante retaliated with shards, but they couldn't cut through the Meta lizard's tough scales. Stopping time, Ryan rushed to Shroud's rescue and punched the lizard with Fisty in the frozen time. When the clock struck again, the blow sent the reptile flying to the side, allowing Shroud to fly away. The glass genome switched targets to support Atom Cat with shards before Mongrel could incinerate him with pyrokinesis. Use pebbles! Ryan shouted at Atom Cat, who still attempted to engage Mongrel in close combat. Use pebbles! Oh, good idea! Felix quickly caught on and threw a small stone at Mongrel, the projectile blasting the Psycho against the orphanage's walls. Len managed to exploit his temporary incapacitation to trap him in another bubble, the rabid Psycho gasping for air. Unfortunately, it turned out, Len's bubble wasn't powerful enough to fully immobilize Psyshock. When he realized all was lost, the malevolent mindjacker managed to raise a tentacle at his head and shattered his own skull. His gray matter flowed into the water, the psycho abandoning his men to their fate. "Damn, not again," Ryan complained, as he pummeled the reptile psycho into unconsciousness with fisty. Shroud started shredding gremlins with shards while Adam Cat tossed explosive stones at them, but Rakshasa kept summoning more. By now, hundreds of the critters threatened to swarm the shelter. At least, until they noticed Ryan and abruptly stopped. "Huh," the time traveler asked, as the critters seemed to panic. One of the gremlins put 2 raised fingers behind his head, as if mimicking a rabbit's ears, and then pointed at Ryan. The creature's anxious expression turned into stark raving terror. "Wait, you remember me?" Ryan asked, the gremlins immediately running away as he approached them. They seemed to recognize him, even with a new costume. Wait, of course they did. Rakshasa probably summoned these creatures from another universe and the genome's ability only affected this one. "Come back," Ryan pleaded. "Rabbits are friendly." The gremlins frantically escaped into Rust Town, much to Rakshasa's shock and surprise. "Hey, come back here," the Jaguar man ordered, even as Wardrobe rushed at him. "Come back, you cowards." Wardrobe tackled the Jaguar to the ground, Rambo style, and started manhandling him. Perhaps the costume gave her superhuman fighting skills or increased strength, but she quickly restrained the Mook summoner with a chokehold. The vicious Catman attempted to claw at her flesh, but Shroud nailed his palms to the ground with glass spikes. "Back off," Shorty warned, raising her rifle. Wardrobe released the chokehold and rolled away, just as Rakshasa became trapped inside a bubble of his own. "You have the right to remain silent." The panda forced Mosquito's bloody face against the minibus car hood, while holding him in a wrist lock. "Perp." Ryan pitted the Mosquito. To be beaten by that bear must have hurt, physically and emotionally. A few seconds later, both the bug and the reptile psycho joined their brethren in bubble confinement. "I caught one, Sifu," the panda said, his bare face the very picture of happiness. "I caught one. We won." "No," Len said, the only one crestfallen with the result. "Psyshock, he escaped." "I wouldn't call that escaped," Adam Cat said, pointing at the floating corpse in Shorty's watery prison. "Actually, can they survive inside these bubbles?" Wardrobe asked, as Mongrel and Rakshasa had both passed out inside their prison, while the wounded Mosquito gasped for breath. "They're monsters, but killing them, it makes me feel uneasy." "They will survive," Len nodded. "The special water provides them with enough oxygen to survive through direct skin contact, but not enough to stay conscious. Their body falls into suspended animation to preserve biological functions." All in all, the fight had been a crushing victory, but unfortunately, Shorty had a point. They only caught Mooks and Psyshock lived to fight another day. Which meant that the meta could not only keep their enslaved thralls, but also operate Mekran's mech. While the Dynami's heroes rejoiced, Len's face remained bitter. I should have put more pressure," she said, blaming herself for Psyshock's escape. "If I had increased the oxygen ratio, I could have made him pass out quicker." "Shorty, it's okay," Ryan consoled her. "We'll get that squid eventually." "You owe us an explanation," Adam Cat scolded Ryan. "Who was that invisible guy?" "That guy?" Ryan turned around, and realized Shroud had vanished. He must have turned invisible and left before the others could ask embarrassing questions. "That sneaky bastard, I hate it when he does that." "What was that for?" Adam Cat kept asking, suspicious. "That stuff about Hector? Because I assume it is the Hector? Haven't you heard?" Len snapped at him, her anger at Dynami's stronger than her social anxiety. Your employer bankrolls the meta.
Oh.
A conspiracy, the panda asked, clearly excited. The panda is all ears. I heard, but that's not possible, Wardrobe argued, her quirkiness replaced with a skeptical frown. Even her costume changed from a South American icon to normal. Why would he do that? Help monsters like these psychos? It doesn't make sense. You just have to listen to PSY's recording, Ryan said, opening his suit to reveal the wiretap inside. Our very own CEO hired him to attack the Augusti. To prove his point, he activated the recording. Adam Cat brimmed with rage, the panda sat on his ass without a word, and Shorty. When she heard Psyshock talk about the children, she looked positively murderous. In all his years knowing her, Ryan had never seen her like that. But it doesn't make sense. If it were known, it would be disastrous for the company's image, Wardrobe argued, focusing on the marketing side of things. It could be an impersonator trying to ruin Mr. Manada's reputation, or the meta could lie to tarnish it. I mean, that's what PR will say. Who else could deliver crates of knockoff elixirs to the meta gang? Felix replied with irritation, fists clenched. I knew they were snakes, and I still let them bite me. But, if that's true, the panda cleared his throat, a bit afraid. Does that mean that we know too much? That's what happens in movies, right? We know too much, so we're all gonna die. Nobody is going to die. Wardrobe protested, hands on her waist. We will do things by the book, and take that recording to our manager. But what happens if he's in on the conspiracy too? You knew it would happen, when you brought us here, Adam Cat accused Ryan. That was your plan from the start. And who was that invisible guy? He's a friend, Ryan said. He's very shy and not as transparent as he seems, but he's a good one. A vigilante. Was it why the panda was recruited? The panda asked Ryan, his eyes widening in hope. You couldn't trust anyone else? It was technically true, in a weird way. Ryan was absolutely sure the panda had nothing to do with any conspiracy whatsoever, because no Illuminati in their right mind would hire him. Exactly, young disciple, he replied, raising a finger at the animal's heart. I chose you because of this. Am I liver? No, your pure heart. Ryan lightly slapped him in the back of the head. You still have so much to learn. Okay, this is way above my pay grade, Wardrobe replied after taking a deep breath, glancing at the metagang. First thing first, what do we do about these guys? How long will these bubbles hold? Hours, Len replied laconically. Okay, good, that's more than enough time to bring them back to Optimus Tower, Wardrobe declared with a nod. Everyone loves a by-the-book arrest. What, haven't you heard? Felix the cat said with a tone filled with anger. He had left his family for Dynamis to do good, and the company had disappointed him. They'll be back on the street within hours if we do that. So what, we kill them? Wardrobe snapped back. We can't do that, we aren't vigilantes. We stand for something. There are due processes to follow. You would rather stick to your contract and risk letting these guys go? They tried to kidnap children to turn them into soldiers. Hey, everyone calm down. Ryan said, before the argument could grow more intense. Look, here's my proposal. We call our beloved manager, he sends help to bring the perps into custody, and we give him the recording. That's why I took it in the first place. I can get behind that, Wardrobe said with a nod. I'm sure Enrique will clear this up. Adam Cat crossed his arms, glaring at Ryan suspiciously. You're both in on it. You and Blackthorn. Sorry kitten, it's top secret. You're both in on it, trying to expose Hector. He marked a short pause. Good. And obviously, about what you heard today, Ryan glanced at everyone, putting a finger on his mask where the lips should have been. Shush. The panda will be as silent as a tomb, his disciple promised, before rising back on his feet. Can I make the arrest before the cameras? Bring the perps out of the car and into the tower? Oh right, that will be your first arrest. Wardrobe replied with a cheery grin. You will see, you never forget your first. And with your new costume, I'm sure you will shoot up the popularity charts. About costumes, why Che Guevara? Ryan asked. The question had bothered him for a while. Because PR never lets me wear it, or Fidel Castro's, she admitted, a little embarrassed. They say it's too subversive, even if I can survive anything when I wear his uniform. Len's head perked up, her communist radar triggered. Are you a Marxist?
Uh.
I would say I'm more of a social democrat, Wardrobe admitted, leaving Len disappointed. The fashion designer immediately tried to cheer her up. But I sympathize. I sympathize. Ryan heard his cell phone bleep, and he realized someone had sent him a message. I have to go. What? But you will miss the photo session. Wardrobe complained, glaring at him. Quick save, it would be perfect to introduce your new costume to the world. Sorry, Shorty and I need to bring the kids home, Ryan said, while Len frowned at him. Though Psyshock's temporary demise had not warranted a response from Big Fat Adam, the meta would probably hit the orphanage again with heavy hitters unless evacuated. And after that, I have a date. The unknown caller had sent him an invitation. That evening, Ryan drove the Plymouth Fury south of New Rome, with Len sitting in the other seat. They made their way past the strip and into a place that could only be called a slum. Well, maybe he was exaggerating. The place was terribly dirty, the ground littered with used drug paraphernalia, spent condoms, and even bullet casings, but it wasn't as bad as Rust Town. Ryan didn't see any feral dogs scavenging trash cans, and people walked around without the sense of paranoia that characterized the northern neighborhoods. The place was a dump, but somebody kept order. Ryan parked the Plymouth Fury at the parking lot of a particularly uninviting motel, its wall paint peeling away and its neon sign flickering. The courier noticed the remnants of a pool nearby, long drained away. Only one of the rooms had the lights on, located on the first floor. Cancel guarded the door. At least it confirmed his suspicions. It's here, Ryan said, checking the address sent by the mystery caller. I know this place, Len frowned anxiously. They call it Deadland Motel.
Yeah.
It looks pretty dead to me too. Riri, she said, looking at him with concern. They call it this way because a lot of people disappear there. It didn't surprise him. The place was close to Mount Augustus, and isolated enough that the private security wouldn't interfere. What surprised him was that Shorty had insisted on coming with him, after she evacuated the children to her underwater hideout. It warmed his heart. If they wanted to kill me, they wouldn't have sent me an invitation. Are you sure you want to do this? Ryan glanced at Cancel. It's the only way to be sure, he replied, before smiling at his partner. And with you as my backup, I have nothing to fear. Don't joke about it, please.
Yeah.
But I gotta admit, he smiled beneath his mask, it's nice to have someone watching my back. Yes. I feel that way too. She glanced away. Please, be careful, all right? I swear. And after these emotional words, Ryan exited the car, climbed the stairs to the motel's first floor, and made his way towards Cancel. Hi Greta, the time traveler waved a hand at her. Is Mortimer nearby? Oh, hi, she replied, waving a hand at him with the same cute friendliness as always. He's hiding in a corner. Judas, Mortimer's voice answered, though Ryan wasn't sure if it came from the walls or the ground. Judas. But have we met? Cancel asked Ryan with a friendly expression. The courier had never seen her change it, no matter the loops. I always remember masks and faces. Well, you didn't try to kill me yet, Ryan joked. Oh, good, I would feel bad if I had missed you. But if you're here to kill me, could we pick something more dignified than a motel? Ryan asked, pointed north. I think there are some public toilets 2 streets away. It's fine, we're here for security, Greta reassured him, pointing at the door. Someone wants to meet you. As he assumed. With one last glance at a worried Len waiting for him, Ryan opened the bedroom door and walked inside. To his surprise, the inside looked far cozier and larger than the outside. It was a pretty normal room, actually, including a king-sized bed and various amenities, though Ryan couldn't help but diss the blue wall paint. Someone had set a dining table, including coffee cups, a chessboard, and even cookies. His host sat on the other side, waiting for him. Thank you for coming, quick save, Livia Augusti said, as he closed the door behind him. Or should I call you Ryan? Ryan frowned, a bit confused. You do not know? Not quite, the mafia princess admitted. But this is not the first time we meet, is it? How did I call you, before you turned back the hand of time? She knew. God damn it, she knew, and Cancel was 3 meters away. You called me Ryan, he replied, trying not to show his fear. We were casual acquaintances. As I thought, she replied, her face thoughtful. The orange is in the hen house. I was confused about the meaning of this phrase, but now I understand. It was a message in a bottle. A distress signal thrown into the sea, hoping it would find its way to the right person. The Augusti princess poured Ryan a cup of coffee, and invited him to sit. Well, your bottle found its way to me, Livia said with a smile. Let's open it together. 56, heartfelt talk. For a long moment, Ryan didn't say a single word. He had put his mask on a side of the table, near the chessboard, and kept looking at his steaming coffee cup. The courier could lose himself in the bitter darkness of the soft, delightful drink. Anything to alleviate the tension in the room. Your cup is not poisoned, Livia said before clearing her throat. She wore a black turtleneck, classy, but casual. If I wanted you dead, you would be. Poison wouldn't work anyway. Ryan shrugged, before grabbing the cookies and drenching them in the coffee. But there are still 2 hitmen right outside the door, and people call this place Deathland Motel. Now that I think of it, it kinda sounds like a horror theme park. It's for my safety. Livia put her hands around her coffee cup, to better feel the warmth on her fingers. My previous self seems to have perished abruptly, from what I can gather. It wasn't me, Ryan protested. How can I be sure? She asked with a frown on her face. I know you lied about your ability to my old self. You told her that you could jump through alternate realities, when you could actually go back in time. It was metaphorically true, Ryan deadpanned before eating the cookie. It was quite sweet, but not all that good. Which is another way to say you lied, Livia replied, unflappable. I would have brought Crypto to this gathering if I could, but he had a hockey-related accident. I presume you were behind it? I warned him. Ryan protested. I warned Luigi that if he kept ruining my runs, things wouldn't go well between us. The courier had made it a point to target the truth-teller in every loop, even those where he didn't join the Augusti. If anything, Ryan considered it preemptive self-defense. Which confirms my worries, Livia said with a frown, looking into his eyes. You don't want your secret getting out, and will use violence to cover it up if needed. Speak for yourself, Miss Two Powers. She flinched. I don't see what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Right, Ryan said, truly tempted to leave the table anyway, consequences be damned. Look, can you tell me what you want exactly? Or else I will take the door. If you try to leave this room now, I will have no choice but hunt you down, Livia declared, her eyes full of iron. Your power is too great to be ignored, and I'm not sure you won't be a threat to my family in the future. The courier glared at her, but she stood her ground. Ryan, the only reason I haven't gone to my father yet with my suspicions is that my previous self seemed to appreciate you, she warned him. I even called off Vulcan when she wanted to track you down. Don't waste this opportunity. Ryan tried to figure how to deal with this. She didn't remember loops but seemed capable of transferring information from one to the other, which made her incredibly dangerous. Could he negate her advantage by canceling her power? He could always try to get cancelled to turn against her employer, but it seemed far-stretched and difficult. If Augustus' daughter could truly interact with alternate universes beyond his reach, then even death wouldn't solve the problem permanently. She would get right back to hunting him in the next run, and that wasn't without considering whatever contingencies she put in place. That wasn't a worst-case scenario, but it was pretty damn close. I'll ask again then, Ryan said. He didn't want to sound frustrated, but the whole situation made him incredibly uneasy. What do you want? Livia inhaled, gathering her bearing. I want the truth. The truth? Ryan repeated the word, as the weight of countless years fell on his shoulders. The truth caused me so much heartbreak, I guess I gave up on it. Some didn't believe me. Some did, and went mad. Some went as far as trying to destroy me, because they didn't want to forget. And some. The courier's thoughts turned to Jasmine. Some did believe me, and tried to help. And yet, I kept dying, and they forgot. Over, and over, and over again. Ryan let out a heavy sigh. Those are the worst, because I never get used to them. Livia's gaze betrayed a hint of compassion, but she regained her icy demeanor. I think I understand, she said. I cannot say I can fully comprehend what you went through, but I think I see your point. No, you can't. And be thankful for it. Ryan grabbed his own coffee cup. You haven't told your father, but have you told anyone else? Why? Her tone turned defensive. Do you want to silence me? No, Ryan couldn't even if he wanted to. But more than half your Olympians are murderous assholes. I don't want any of them to know my true power. If you don't plan to move against them, then you should have nothing to fear. Oh really? Ryan deadpanned. Your father personally tracks down everyone he remotely suspects of being a threat to him. What do you think Lightning Butt will do if he learns I can time travel? His argument seemed to have hit the mark. I could talk him out of this. I don't believe you, Ryan replied dryly. And let's not talk about Bliss. This has nothing to do with our conversation, Livia argued, her body tensing. Don't try to change the subject. It has everything to do with it, Ryan insisted, sipping his coffee. Bliss causes sterility in unpowered humans. I used to think genomes were spared from that nasty side effect thanks to their enhanced metabolism, but not anymore. Narcinia can create life as she wishes, so there's no way she doesn't know, and she's way too nice not to have corrected that problem already. Hence, it's not a bug, it's a feature. Livia's fingers trembled around her cup, her facial features crinkled. Why would a cartel make most of its customers sterile? It made no sense to me, until I saw your father and his crew. People like Mars look down on normal humans, like cattle. Ryan snorted. Your father wants to kill normies. Bliss isn't a product, it's a weapon. You think I wanted this? The sudden outburst made Ryan recoil in his chair, as anger broke through Livia's mask. You don't think I already tried to change that? Now it was her turn to snarl at him, bottled-up anger rising to the surface. You don't think I tried to close that death lab 1,000 times? You think I want people to associate my family's name with a drug that kills thousands each year? You think I want this? Ryan said nothing, astonished, as Livia put her hands on her face. She seemed to fight back tears. My father won't budge, she said, her voice weak. He will listen to me on almost everything, but Bliss, it's his favorite project. His legacy. Narcinia, that girl could make the world so much better. She's a miracle. But father doesn't want to save anyone. He would rather be king of a cemetery. Livia no longer looked like the regal, confident daughter of Augustus. The mask had fallen, and beneath, Ryan only saw a young woman with far too much pressure and unwanted expectations thrown on her shoulders. At this moment, she looked so vulnerable that Ryan's anger vanished. Livia, you don't have to do this, if you don't want to, he said, taking her hand in his own. Her fingers felt so cold to the touch. Even if they're your family. You have the right to leave. I have to, she replied, pushing away his hand and wiping away tears. Someone worse will take over the organization otherwise. Livia took a few seconds to recover her composure, breathing in and out while Ryan watched. I just want to protect my family, Ryan, she said. If, whatever they are still my family. My father is what he is, but he is still my father at the end of the day. Do you understand? These words made Ryan flinch, as they brought him back to the darkest days of his childhood. I don't want them to die, Livia said with a sigh. That's all I ask. I want to protect them. From Dynamis, from the Meta. From you, if necessary. You won't be able to shield them from the consequences of their actions. The Carnival's threat already loomed over Augustus' empire. I know, but I still have to try and protect them. If, she struggled to find her words, her eyebrows narrowing in bottled-up frustration. I just want to know you won't threaten them. That you aren't out to kill us. If you can guarantee that, then I will keep your secrets, and let you be. That's all. Ryan opened his mouth, closed it, and then finally decided to reassure her. I don't want to kill you or your family, Livia. Now that the courier thought it, wasn't that what he had always wanted? Somebody capable of remembering him? His first instinct was paranoia, yet she had been nothing but helpful in the previous loop. Lightning Dad was a colossal asshole, but his daughter seemed nice, for a lack of a better term. Thing is, Ryan said, trying to find his words. I always hoped something like this would happen. That someone like you would come along, and remember me. But now that it finally happened, I have no idea how to deal with this. It's new, she suggested with a sigh. Yes, he said and nodded. And not in a funny way. I've grown used to controlling everything in a loop, and now, you're threatening to take all my progress away. I understand, Livia replied, with a forced smile. I feel the same way about you. I never met someone immune to my power before. It's a little scary and disturbing. I don't know what to expect. They were both afraid of the other. Hedgehog's dilemma hit again. Eventually, after a long minute of thinking, Ryan reached a decision. It was a very risky move, but he had pushed his chips on the table a long time ago. He might as well see the river. All right, if you want the full truth about my power, then I will give it. He would be as honest with her as he had been with Len and Jasmine. But trust is a two-way street. She considered his proposal for a while, her face thoughtful. What do you want in return? I want the truth too. How can I know that you won't take any information I gave, and then use it against me in your next attempt? What guarantee do I have that you won't send your army of genomes after my hide? Ryan let out a shrug. Thing is, if neither of us is willing to take a risk, then there's only one way it will end between us. And he looked at this woman, who reminded him so much of someone else. And I don't want to go there. Augustus' daughter said nothing, mulling it over as she sipped her coffee. Eventually, she reached a decision. Fine, Livia declared, putting down her cup on the table. I accept your terms. First question then, Ryan asked, glancing at the walls. Why this motel? It made her chuckle a little, releasing some of the tension in the room. That is the first thing you wish to know? It's cozy, but I'm not fond of the wall paint. You should try purple, it goes well with everything. Felix and I used it as our hideout, of a sort, Livia admitted, glancing at the chessboard. It was a private refuge we used when we wanted to get away from our families. It's discreet, and the few who know about it keep their mouth shut. Since you've joined IL-Migliore, I thought it would be a good neutral ground. Ryan scoffed. I will scold the kitten for his lack of taste then. How is he? She asked, her tone soft as if afraid of the answer. Felix? Shouldn't you know with your power? Ryan asked, before answering truthfully. He's fine, if disappointed. IL-Migliore isn't all it's cracked up to be, but he will recover. I don't think he will be coming back though. No, he won't, Livia agreed with a sigh. His parents believe he will wise up and return to the fold, but I know better. He was always too stubborn for his own good. After a short silence, Ryan decided to address the elephant in the room. How did you remember? You first, Ryan, she asked, looking into his eyes. You first. You want the short or the long version? The long one, she said firmly. Ryan strongly considered lying to her anyway, but decided against it. Odd as it may be, the courier fulfilled his promises, even if he was the only one who remembered them. So he told her, without omission. Livia listened to his explanations with an unreadable face, until he reached the end of his tale. He would have given everything to know what she thought, but her poker face was almost as good as Ryan's own. I see, is all she said, once he finished his tale. If you want to have me killed, now is the time, Ryan replied. Or at least, you can try. Livia stopped, and the courier was certain she considered lying to him too. You are right, Ryan. I have two powers. Not just one. But in the end, she was an honorable woman. You drank 2 elixirs, Ryan said. Like your father. I was the one to do it first, she admitted. I drank a blue elixir, which granted me the ability to see parallel timelines. And with that power, I realized both my father and I could wield up to 2 powers with no ill side effects in alternate realities. A genetic quirk? Ryan asked, the princess nodding in confirmation. What about your uncle and aunt? They didn't inherit the necessary genes. In the realities where they drank a second elixir, they always went psycho. And even in my case, a 3rd elixir would have turned me into a monster. Livia cleared her throat and adjusted her hair, like a teacher preparing a lecture. Anyway, my power allows me to see and hear through the senses of alternate MES. A limited number. How limited? Ryan asked, as he stole a second cookie. 6, the princess said, her eyes squinting. If you want a metaphor, I can watch up to 6 plasma screens at once. I can switch the channels, but I cannot turn them off. My power is always active. And you realized I could go back in time by talking with these alternate selves? Yes, and no, Livia admitted. Thing is, I don't perceive these other Livia directly. I use a hub. It's hard for me to describe it, but I constantly see myself in two places. The one where I'm at right now, and a blue place where I can select the channels. I have 6 screens, but I watch them in a room. Ryan immediately caught on. And you can interact with that blue room? Yes, I can record voices and notes, like an archive. She nodded with a smile, happy he understood her. I actually noticed notes I didn't remember writing. I assumed that my alternate selves also had access to this place and recorded information, until I met you. You kept notes on me, Ryan guessed. Notes with dates, about how you met a dashing rogue your power couldn't perceive. I wouldn't call you dashing, the princess teased him. Now that they had both opened up, the tension between them had slowly lessened. But yes. If it had been recorded by an alternate me, then she shouldn't have been able to perceive you. The way we met was also different, and I had the intuition you knew me already. But how did you realize I was time traveling? I don't know anything about video games, Augustus' daughter admitted with a sheepish smile. So I looked up what your name meant. I quickly connected the dots, and it clicked. Ryan blinked at Livia, trying to see if she was serious. It couldn't be. You figured it out, and you aren't even a gamer? There are no words to describe my sheer disappointment. I'm surprised you took such a risk with a name like that, she said. Unless it was another bottle thrown to the sea? Maybe. Ryan ignored the question, focusing on her power's mechanics. Elements made me think that all true genomes draw their powers from a higher dimension that embodies their color's essence. The more he had thought about that theory, the more Ryan had come to believe in it. A dimension of energy for red. The crossroads of all spacetime for violet. A universe of thoughts and information for blue? Livia guessed his theory. I think you are like me, Ryan explained. A part of you, perhaps a psychic presence, exists in that blue world. It allows you to record information outside space and time, and to see through alternate realities. But not my consciousness, Livia realized. Which is why my memories do not carry over when you overwrite our universe. I wonder why I didn't notice the passage of time in these alternate worlds. Some should have carried on for years, if you don't affect them. Because I don't think you actually see parallel universes, or at least not as you understand them, Ryan replied. I think your power creates and sustains them. Livia gave it some thought, before grasping his theory. You think they aren't actually universes that physically exist, but elaborate simulations? Possibilities that collapse whenever you stop observing them. They only start existing when you use power. I never saw things like that, the princess admitted. But that would explain why you don't appear in any of them. You are the controller. The one who decides if the current reality and all its possible branches exist at all. Your power trumps mine. Both of them? Ryan teased her. We can check, she said with a smug smile. He had triggered a competitive instinct within her. I mean, if you want. Ryan accepted the challenge, raising his hand and moving his fingers towards himself. Bring it, princess. He felt something in the back of. Time seemed to flash forward, and when Ryan regained consciousness, the white pawn and black knight on the chessboard had moved. Livia, though, seemed extremely confused. Is that all you got, Violet? Ryan taunted her. That's very strange, Livia admitted with a scowl. Can you try your time stop on me, Ryan? I wish to check something. He did, and she froze like everything else. Unlike her father, she couldn't move in the stop time. I think I sensed you activate it, Livia said when time resumed, before noticing a cookie in her hand. But clearly, I'm not immune to it. Well, Your dad is, Ryan shrugged. One of you was enough. Oh, really? Livia blinked a few times in a row. That would explain some things. The courier raised an eyebrow. How so? Sometimes, Dad seems to stutter, or stop mid-sentence before repeating himself. Uncle thought it was age catching up to him, but no one dared to confront my father over it. He's very sensitive about growing old, and I suppose he didn't want us to worry. It must have been pretty annoying from his point of view, Ryan said with a smirk as he imagined the scene. I think he would be torn between recruiting you for your power, or killing you for being an annoyance. Livia chuckled, before leaving her cookie back with the others. Ryan guessed she was careful about her weight. If he learns about you at least. Ryan promised himself he would time prank Lightning, but in the future. Let me guess, you erased time and leapt past it? Is that a reference to something? Livia asked, and Ryan's glare made her uncomfortable. Why are you looking at me as if I were pitiful? It hurt to be a cultured person while surrounded by ignorance. He would have to do this woman's education one day. My enhanced timing told me time moved forward a few seconds, and I'm pretty sure we both played a round of chess, he said, glancing at the board. You create a temporal anomaly where time flows forward, and since I never experienced a blackout like this one before, I assume it only affects a small area. Very good guess, she conceded. Yes, I create a localized temporal anomaly where time behaves oddly. Events proceed as they should have, had I not used my power, but everyone except me is in a trance following a script. In that anomaly, I am the only one capable of adjusting my actions and applying force to objects, making me invulnerable, and when time resumes normally, only I remember my actions. Livia crossed her arms. Or at least, that is how it works with everyone else. But not me, Ryan said with a smirk. My time fu is stronger than yours. I can see the results of your actions, but not interact with them, she admitted with a scowl, her pride wounded. I put a white pawn forward, and the black knight moved on its own. As if you were a ghost capable of affecting the physical world, but immune to retaliation. Perhaps it is because you partly exist in this purple world. If their powers interacted so weirdly together, Ryan didn't dare to invite acid rain to the table. So in that temporal anomaly, I am, what, intangible? Invulnerable? Livia answered his question with a nod, and the courier remembered Ischia Island. I think you might have saved my life once that way. Livia must have tried to skip time in an attempt to survive the Bahamut's blast, but her power probably ran out before she could find shelter. While Ryan was already in the bathysphere, and their weird power interference caused the device to move away. Or at least, it was his best guess. He would need more trial and error to figure out how their powers truly interfered with each other. The princess' expression turned from curious to sour, her eyes looking at her coffee. Ryan, why did you join the Augusti in the past, and now work for our enemies? What game are you playing at? Long story, but I agreed to destroy the Bliss factory on behalf of another organization, Ryan said. Or else they would take things into their own hands, and kill a lot of people. She scoffed. I see. I see you aren't against it. Ryan frowned, as his intuition kicked in. Last loop, you insisted I go to Ischia Island when you were inspecting the defenses. Even if there was no reason for me to go there. You wanted me to sabotage that drug farm. I must have suspected something was up with you then, Livia replied while looking away. Who asked you to do that? Dynamis? No. She looked into his eyes. Then who? Ryan hesitated. He remembered how she interacted with Shroud last time, and he had the feeling her beef with the carnival was personal. If she knew, the Augusti would track Shroud down, and the courier didn't want his translucent ally to die. I can't tell you. Instantly, he felt the tension rising again in the room. I see, Livia said with a frosty tone. Then, how did I die the previous time? You really want to know? Ryan asked her, and she nodded sharply. The Meta murdered you with an orbital laser. The princess blinked as she digested his answer, and then frowned. You're lying. I wish I was, Ryan replied, the memory of that disaster souring his mood. I'm working towards preventing it. It's impossible, I should have seen it coming, Livia protested. You kept seeing yourself dying in alternate realities. Then that can only mean two things, she said, arms crossed. Either the Meta gang has a method to counter my power, or they decided to attack me first in every alternate universe I observed. Some of my other selves should have survived otherwise. The Meta did have access to Mecran's bunker and the technology within it, but Ryan considered the second option more likely. Knowing Big Fat Adam, he must have decided to target any precog capable of raising the alarm on his plans to destroy New Rome first. Unfortunately, this made Livia ask only more questions, rather than less. How did they manage to get an orbital laser in the first place? Ryan weighed the pros and cons of telling her about Mecran's armory, before realizing the risk was simply too great. Augustus had destroyed it in an act of vengeful fury in the previous loop, but in this one? At the height of his power? This god wannabe would probably decide to claim the bunker for himself. I can't tell you. You can't tell me? Livia glared at the courier. You would rather let Adam the ogre get his hands on a WMD rather than tell me? Look, it's not that I don't trust you, Ryan protested, but you will have to tell your father to deal with this, Anne. My father isn't perfect, but he doesn't eat children for dinner. That's the bar you set for human decency? Ryan snapped back. You know he murdered Narcinia's real parents, to use her as a hostage against Leo Hargraves? Her parents were raiders, who deserved what they got, Livia argued, clenching her jaw in anger. And careful with what you say. Hargraves murdered my mother. Oh. That explained a few things. Ryan noted that tidbit for later, dead set on confronting Mr. See-Through about it. I'm just saying you should look into it, because the source seemed pretty trustworthy. For all his faults, Ryan had grown to trust Shroud over the last loops. The vigilante's desire to do good was genuine, though extreme. He said her mother wanted to help the world, and that she had the power to do so. Who told you that? Livia asked, her frown deepening. You won't tell me either? I'm sure it's the same organization who asked you to destroy Ischia Island. Ryan crossed his arms, standing his ground. I can't tell you. Why? She raised her hands in incomprehension. Why, Ryan? You say you don't want to harm my family, but you're willing to work with people who are. So why should I trust you? Because I can make everything right. And what if you're wrong? Livia shook her head. What if you blow up Ischia Island with Narcinia still inside, and it sticks? What if the Metagang manages to kill you permanently? You speak about trust, but you only tell me half the story. Then, what happens if I ask about lightning butts and vulnerability? Ryan replied, tone rising up between them. Will you tell me? Why would you need to know that, if you don't intend to go after him? She replied angrily. I am not going to stay idle while a psycho plots my murder and who knows how many others, Ryan. So why should I trust you to help when you're set on keeping me in the dark? Because I don't want anyone to die. Ryan snarled while raising a finger at the princess, at his wit's end. You included. This time, his words silenced her. Do you know what it is to be me? Ryan asked, frustration he had been bottling up for decades simmering to the surface. To have the power to help everyone, knowing that every time I save, things will stick? That if I leave someone dead when I could have protected them, then it becomes my fault? Do you know how easy it would be to just say, fuck them, I don't care anymore, and never turn back? After that outburst, the two fell into an awkward, tense silence. They had reached an impasse. I think you should go, Livia said, holding her arms as if shielding herself. It's late, and people will ask questions.
Yeah.
They were done. For now. Without further words, the courier grabbed his mask and moved towards the door. Ryan. He froze, his hand on the door handle. I don't care about the rest of the organization, but if my father, my uncle, and my aunt die because of your schemes, I will destroy you, Livia warned him. Same with Felix, Fortuna, and Narcinia. Fine, I have a list of my own, Ryan replied with the same icy tone. Len Sabino, the orphans under her care, my current team, Matthias Martel, Jamie, Kiyung, Lamka, Narcinia, Jasmine, and my cat. If you guys target any of them, I swear you will never see me coming. Livia sighed. It's not over. I will call you again. Sure, the time traveler replied, as he opened the door and walked out. Whatever you say. As the clock struck midnight, Ryan drove the Plymouth Fury to the harbor. Well, here we are, the time traveler said, turning to his partner. You're sure you don't want to go with me? I know you hate dynamis, but they promised me a condo with an unbeatable city view. No answer. Len hadn't said a thing since they left the motel. Perhaps her medication had run off, and she found the surface world tiring. Or perhaps she expected Cancel and the Killer 7 to crawl out of the woods to attack them. But so far, Livia hadn't sent anyone. I know you think you need to overdose on antidepressants for them to work, Shorty, but please, follow the treatment, Ryan pleaded. It's for your own good. Riri. Len looked into his eyes, not bothering to hide her concern. Why did you tell her so much? You can't take it back now. Why? Ryan could say he had no choice. That with Livia's power, it was better to be truthful and try to build a good relationship, rather than go for the kill. He could say that he wanted things to change, even if it meant taking a risk. But that would have been a lie. Thing was, his reasons ran deeper than that. An invincible psychopath trying to push his daughter into a situation she wasn't comfortable with, and turning her into a target because they couldn't harm him directly? How could Len ask him why? Because I've seen it before, Ryan said, looking at the Mediterranean Sea. And it didn't end well the first time around.